Hello and welcome to the tutorial on robotic process automation using UiPath. So in this session, we'll consider an example to build a workflow using while loop activity that tells the user if the input is a prime number or not. So this is the logic for it. So initially we will read the number and initialize some other variables required for checking the primality of the number, and we will start the loop from 1 through the number, and in that we will check for one more condition where number modulo I should be equals to 0. If so, we will increment a flag variable, and then we would be incrementing the I variable which we will be using to loop through the number, and at last we will check whether the flag variable is incremented or not. If it is incremented, then we will say the number is a prime number, or else we will say it is not a prime number. So let us go ahead with the UiPath Studio software and let us create a new flowchart. So let us give it a name as Prime Checking and say create. So in the designer panel we have the start. So the first and the foremost activity is to add an input dialog, so that we can get an input from the user. So let me rename it as input number. Okay, so double click on it. Let's give it a title, say Prime Checking, and let us give a label as enter a number. Okay, so then the next task is to use the while loop. So let me search for that here in the activities panel. So I just drag and drop it here in the designer panel, and before proceeding with the while loop, let us create all the variables that are necessary for this workflow. So the first variable for the entire workflow is the number, and let the variable type be int 32, and let us use the same variable in case of input from the user. So in the properties panel at the output section, for the result we will give it as number, so the value inputted by the user gets stored in this particular variable. And the next variable required is the I, which we will use to loop through. So let this type be int32 and let the default value be 1. Okay, and let us create one more variable which is a flag variable, and again we will choose the variable type to be equals to int32 and let the default value be 0. Okay, so now let us go to our while loop, while activity, and the condition to be specified here is I less than or equals to number. If so, we will enter into the body of the while loop, and we should be using an if condition here. So let me search for the if in the activities panel, and let me drag and drop it here. So here the condition is number mod, we will be using the modulo operator I equals 0. If this condition is satisfied, then the value of the flag variable must be incremented. So for that we will use a simple assign activity so that we can increment the value. So here I'll just give flag equals flag plus 1. Okay, so not to worry about the else part. Okay, and then after this we'll be adding one more assign activity so that we can increment the I value so that we can loop through. So here I'll say I equals I plus 1. Okay, so every time we come out of the loop we increment the value of I. So that's it. So once the value of the flag is incremented, then we understand that the number given by the user is a prime number, or else we will continue to loop through and check whether it is prime or not. Okay, so now let us come back to our previous section where we have this while. Okay, so now we have to add one more if activity here. So here we say that if the value of the flag equals 2, if the value of the flag reaches 2, then we indicate a message to the user using a message box that the inputted number is a prime number. So let us add the number given by the user along with the message is a prime number. And in the else part, let us add one more message box, and here we will also print the number and along with that a message saying is not a prime number. Okay, so that's it. Okay, I think we have some error here in the while condition, so let us debug that. So the extra space provided here can be omitted here. Okay, so here again the number is of type double, so we can convert it to string using the toString method. Say dot toString, and even here we can convert the number type to string by using dot toString method. Okay, that's it. So we are done. So let's come back to our main workflow. So these are the 3 activities that we have used in this workflow to check whether the given number is prime or not. Okay, now let us run this workflow. It has started debugging the workflow, and now it has started the execution of the workflow. So it will ask for a number. Let me say 17, and if I press OK, it says 17 is a prime number. Okay, so we made a typo error there in the if, so it should be prime, P-R-I-M-E. Okay. So let us check the workflow once again. And this time we will give a non-prime number, say 10, and if I click OK, it says it is not a prime.